Can you create the greatest black all Premier League 11? That's a challenge.
Right. Goalkeeper, David James.
Yeah.
Right back.
Shaka Hislop was not happy.
Right back, Trent Arnold.
Yeah. I really rate him.
Me too. Left back, Ashley Cole, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Rio.
Yeah.
Now, this is a toughie, because I want to put Ledley in there, but you've got Van Dijk's there, Company's there as well.
And so Campbell, but clearly, you're not a true Arsenal fan. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
I'm going to go Rio, and I've got to go Vincent Kompany,
Yeah. He won too much. He's probably been my favourite player that isn't an Arsenal player. Just as like I want him in my team at any time.
Right, I'm going to go 4-3-3.
Yeah.
Oh no, actually I'm not. I'm going to go 4-2-3-1. Kind of. No, I'm not. I'm going 4-4-2. I'm going 4-4-2.
Yeah.
Right, middle of the park, I'm going Patrick Vieira.
Yeah.
And I want to say like Makaleli or Kanti,
I would.
But then I like Essien as well.
I like Essien, but he just didn't last long enough. After that injury, he just disappeared from football. He's still playing, but he just never got to the levels again.
Oh, I'm gonna go Vieira. I'll come back to the other sentence. right wing, I'm gonna say Liverpool. I'm gonna go Raheem.
Yeah.
Yeah, Raheem right. Left, I'm gonna go lefty.
Right. And this week we have Darren Bent with us. How are you doing, Darren?
Yeah, I'm all good. You?
Yeah, good. Thank you, man. Thank you so much for joining us. You are former England, Tottenham, Sunderland, Aston Villa, Derby, Fulham. Did I miss any clubs? I think I got 80% of them.
Yeah, obviously Ipswich Town as well. That's where it all started.
Ipswich, yes, of course. So today we're going to do 20 questions. How 20 questions works is I have 20 questions lined up here. You throw a number to me, and then I will ask you that question. Do your best to answer it. So, question, do you want to throw me your first number, and then I will ask you?
I'm going to say question number 20.
That's a very good one. Question 20, right. Create a front three partnership out of Andy Cole, Dwight York, Ian Wright, Thierry Henry, Louis Saha, Emil Heskey, Theo Walcott, Carlton Cole, and Leroy Lita. Who would you like to have played alongside?
Well, so I've got to do a front three or two?
Three.
So the three are, for me, well, the first two easy are Thierry's number one on the team sheet. And closely followed by number two, who's probably my hero, Ian Wright.
Yeah.
And the third one, I'm going to have to go Andy Cole.
You know what? I feel like Andy Cole's really underrated.
Mate, he gets, you know what? Like, he's one of my, I love Andy Cole. And if you look at his goal records and the amount of goals he scored, you're right, he don't get the respect that he deserves. Whenever people are picking all-time great teams and things like that, like, people forget, like, how good he was at Newcastle. Then he went to United. And even when he left United, and I think he went to Blackburn or to Manchester City, he was still scoring goals regular.
Yeah.
So you're right, I agree with what you're saying there. He's definitely one legend who just doesn't seem to get the recognition that he deserves. There's guys who scored a lot less. They get way more praise than he should get.
Yeah. What, in between him and Ian Wright, what do you think the differences were between them two? Or is it Ian Wright first and then him second?
It's so difficult because obviously the numbers would obviously say Andy Cole, but then you think about it, Ian Wright come onto the scene late and scored a lot of goals. But I think they're both quite similar in regards to, they're both quite aggressive players. So we've seen Andy Cole maybe cross a line on the pitch before, throwing punches at other players. Ian Wright, we've seen Ian Wright flying to tackles. Do you know what I mean? Like, around a little bit. So I think that was probably both their backgrounds growing up as well. That we had to fight harder than a lot of people did. But I think when you look at their two games, I mean, they're so different. Like, Ian Wright's a natural-born finisher, but Andy Cole could finish as well. And again, people forget that because I know it was Glenn Hoddle that kind of threw out that line. He said, Andy Cole needs 3 chances to score. And that's kind of stuck with him because
it has.
whenever I speak to people about him, like my kids or my kids' friends, I'm like, Andy Cole, they're like, well, wasn't he good? Didn't he miss a lot of chances? I'm like, no, he didn't miss a lot of chances. He used to score goal. When you look at some of the goals that he scored, when you look at his Premier League 100 on Sky, you'll see how good he is. But for whatever reason, people just don't want to give him the respect that he deserves.
Yeah. So do you think so you think in that era, him and Ian Wright both never really got a really good crack at England? Who were the strikers at the time? It was Sheringham, Shearer.
Well, do you know what? In this country, at that time there, we were blessed with so many. So you think we had Shearer, Sheringham, Robbie Fowler would have been then.
Yeah.
Chris Sutton would have been about there.
Yeah,
Ian
yeah.
Wright, Andy Cole, Les Ferdinand.
Yeah, yeah.
Do
But
you know what I mean?
it felt like Les, Ian got the less of the England time because Chris Sutton was in the squad, wasn't he, for
Yeah,
6, I want to say?
yeah, you're right. I felt like, especially Les, Ian Wright, and Andy Cole, like had to go above and beyond just to get like a crumb. And it should have been like that. You look at some of the seasons they scored golden boots and things like that. They should have been like first names on team sheets at some stage. But Shearer was banging the goals in as well. Sheringham was doing well. But as I said, it comes down to sometimes if your face doesn't fit, then you just don't get in the squad.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, give me another number.
So that's 20 gone. Give me number 11.
Right. Number 11 is... Did you see the Sunderland documentary on Netflix, first and foremost? Did you see it?
I saw season 1, but I didn't watch season 2.
Okay. How much of that documentary resonated to you from when your time was there? How much of it felt true and accurate based on your time?
Do you know what? It was definitely, it felt accurate to me, and you could tell that they didn't play up to the cameras. I've heard in the second season they played up to the cameras a little bit.
Yeah.
But that first season I would have said, no, it didn't. And to be fair, obviously when they show a goal of me scoring and then they go down, but then you see the anger in the fans' faces, that's legit because the passion that them supporters show up there, they could have got more of that in the documentary because they are so passionate, they care so much. And to be fair, they've had such a tough time of late. Do you know what I mean? Like when they, I mean, it's not going to do them any favours if Newcastle gets taken over as well. I mean, you're bit of rivals. They're going in one direction, you're going in the other. But I think the documentary was very, very good. As far as football in this country's documentaries goes, I thought it's been one of the best.
Yeah, me too. It's funny because I watched the Man City one and I expected more, but it felt also very presented. It still felt very clean in terms of what they did.
Because I tend to watch American sports probably more than I watch English sports. They've been doing them type of documentaries for years.
Yeah.
And we're not quite on that level yet because they will pretty much show you everything. Like someone gets cut from a team, there's a camera in there trying to get the reaction of the player who's obviously devastated. So they don't really hide anything. Whereas in this country, I still felt when I watched the Manchester City one that there was more to give. But I understand Guardiola was probably a little bit more about his tactics. He didn't want us to see too much.
Yeah.
Whereas in the American sports, they don't really care.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll put it all out there for everyone to see.
Yeah. So just a quick question on Sunderland specifically. In that particular that season, they show Jack Rodwell who refused to leave because he had a contract. What would your view be on that situation? Because the way it was painted was very much like they should do this for the club and he should sacrifice and go out and take on his career. What would you have done? And do you understand why Jack Rodwell stayed at the club?
A little bit, yeah, because at the end of the day, like, if he signed the contract, that's fair enough. But you got to remember as well that it works both ways. So, like, if the club, like, if he didn't have a contract and the club wanted to get rid of him, they'd have got him out the door as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Even if he wanted to stay. So sometimes it's not always in one favour or the other. But with someone like Jack as well, I know he was on a lot of money, but I've always been under the illusion that I need to play football. So I didn't really care at times how, and that's sometimes why maybe I moved maybe a little bit sooner than maybe I should have done, or I moved quite quickly because if I got to a situation and I wasn't playing as many games I wanted to, now I'm like, no, this ain't for me. I didn't come here to sit on any bench. And Jack Rodwell, who's still quite young at the time, you look at like how people thought he was going to be the next, you know what I mean, Steven Gerrard, I think people were talking about. But when you go somewhere and you just sit on the bench and you don't play games, it can become disheartening. And I understand he's on a lot of money, but surely you want to go out and play games and show everyone that you are still a good player. Yeah,
especially after the career you had.
Exactly.
All right. Next number?
Number 1.
Brilliant. Ian Wright has just shared a racist Instagram post. Someone DM'd him some horrific stuff. I don't know if you've seen it so far. How common have you found it as a pundit versus being an actual player? And how do you normally respond to that type of stuff, if at all?
Well, to be fair, I've seen it. Yeah, I commented on it as well. It's disgusting. But as I said on my Twitter post as well, that's not uncommon. Like that happens all the time. Like whenever you see successful like people of race, people of color, on social media, and they post something that a lot of people don't like, or whatever, for whatever reason, it could be jealousy, it could be anything. People automatically will go for their race, and so it's not. So it's disgusting and it's horrible, but at the same time, it's nothing new. It's been going on for years. I used to get it. I still get it now sometimes. If I put something out there, I might say something which people don't agree with. I might say a certain player is better than another player.
Yeah.
100%. I know if I check every single one of them comments, someone in there will say something racist.
That's crazy.
Unfortunately, that's just the world we live in. But what's poor is that obviously these keyboard warriors, they feel they've got the power to write whatever they want because they're not going to get punished.
Yeah.
And I think until we start coming down hard on these, obviously these derogatory tweets and these people that are putting out these things that are disgusting, these guys are just going to keep doing it and doing it and doing it.
Yeah.
So if there's no real punishment and no one's really going to put the hammer down, then how are you going to expect to beat it?
What would you say is their appropriate response, though? I don't want to put pressure on you. You're not a lawmaker, but how do you respond to people who are just inboxing you and writing that type of stuff?
And that's the thing. And that's where I kind of understand that. How do you police that? Because for you could go, right, close down that account. All he's got to do is set up a new email, open a new one. He's back at it again.
Yeah.
But I think they've got to do something screening wise, where you've got to put like your before you set up, you've got to put like an ID, whether it be a passport or a driver's license or some form of ID. Then they can at least attach a profile to a person.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So then there's no hiding. They can't automatically go and set up another one because the moment they put their ID in, they'll go, well, hold on, red flags. You can't do it again. You've been banned for this reason.
Yeah.
So I think they need to start profiling people.
Makes sense. Cool. Thank you. Have you got another number?
Number 2.
What worries you most about the future?
I worry more. First of all, I worry about the state of this country after we get past this coronavirus. Like, I mean, a lot of people have asked me that question, or I've posed that question to them. The first thing they've leapt for is sport. In today's, whatever's going on in today's society, sport is the least of our problems because there's people still out there dying, contracting the virus. Do you know what I mean? The NHS are still working tirelessly to try and get over this. So my only fear is that how long does this go on for? Like, is there going to come a point where my kids are going to be able to go outside and they're going to be safe? Will they be able to go to a park and, you know how kids are like, they socialise with anybody. If a bunch of kids are playing football in the park, my kid will go over there and go, can I play? They all play together. Will my kid ever see them days again? Where it's safe for them to do that? And if anything, it's not so much for me, it's for the next generation, as I said, my kids, who I worry for.
When you say for the country, is it just about COVID, or is there wider views about the country that you think are a challenge? Because we've seen a quite an intense year, for a few years, 5 years, I would say, politically, and it hasn't really settled. We've now jumped into this, and we're now into another moment. But is there a wider sentiment around the country that you feel?
Yeah, there is. I mean, you're right. For the last 5 years, I probably agree with you and say that we have been struggling a little bit. And this is kind of like the icing on the cake, but it's not even the icing on the cake. It's kind of the big boom at the end of it. And you're right. I do worry about the state of not just, as I said, kids and things like that, but you talk about people's jobs. Do you know what I mean? Like how, if this goes on and on, like my mum's partner, he's in that 1 million people that are really high risk.
Right.
And I was on the phone to him the other day, and he was telling me that they might not be able to go back to work until next autumn. Now that's a killer, because you're thinking, well, people have got to get work, they've got to somehow get money in, but then you're trying to kind of weighing it up, like, well, it's your job versus your health. Now surely they go in hand, because surely he's going to stress himself out if he can't work, and then if he goes out to work, he's putting himself at risk. So I just honestly do worry about how we're going to come out of this whole COVID situation, and is the grass going to be greener on the other side? And I'm not so sure about that.
Amazing. What's the next number?
19.
Right now, at this very moment, what do you want most? What are you going to do about it?
What do I want most? Well, first of all, I'm going to keep staying indoors, because obviously, more than anything, I want this virus to go. I want people to be safe. Do you know what I mean? I want to be able to go and see my mum. I've not seen my mum for ages. I want to go see my dad. I want to go see my grandparents, make sure they're all right. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure there's so many different people, and I don't get it. Other footballers or other sportsmen leaving the lockdown to go and see loved ones. Well, we're all in the same boat. Do you know what I mean? So when people say, "Oh, well, I was desperate to see that person and I'm struggling without them," well, as I said, we're all in the same. We all can't go and see our loved ones. So, if anything, more than anything, I'd want everyone to just stay indoors. Let's beat this virus. Let's get past it. Unless you're a key worker and you have to go to work. Everyone stay indoors, get past the virus, and then hopefully it will speed up the whole process.
Cool. Another number.
18.
Right. In 2006, when you were starting your England career, the active strikers at the time were Walcott, Rooney, Crouch, Michael Owen, and yourself. Rank them 1 to 5.
Right. At that particular time?
Yeah, we can say at that time. I kind of feel like their careers overall, because everyone's got to the advanced parts of their career now.
Right. I'm going to say Rooney number 1.
Yeah.
Owen 2.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. But I suppose. Yeah.
Do you know why? Because I thought Owen first, but then I think to myself, well, Rooney scored more Premier League goals than him, and he scored more England goals than him.
Yeah, and he lasted longer. Yeah.
He lasted longer, and he's won more trophies than him. So I'd go Rooney 1, Owen 2, Crouchy 3, Walcott 4.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't think he was going to put yourself low. Outside of career, baller.
I didn't think I was in there.
Yeah, you're in there. It's top 5. So where would you put yourself if you was top 5? Baller as well. Let's forget careers now. Let's just say ballers. Where would you put yourself?
I'll put myself behind Owen and Rooney.
Yeah.
In front of Crouchy, in front of Theo.
Would you put Theo above Crouchy? It's quite a difficult thing to compare.
It is, because obviously wide man versus centre forward, but Crouchy's obviously he's a strange one, because I've heard some people say he's overrated. I've heard some people say he's underrated, but he was good at what he did. He held the ball up well, good in the air, great feet for a big man, scored great goals. So I'd probably say at some stage or another, Crouchy was balling.
Yeah. Do you think all of those players would still make it at the highest level today? Like, where would Michael Owen actually play? Because, number 9s now are very, very different.
I think he still played, because he still had that burst of speed. Do you know what I mean? He could score goals, great finisher, was brilliant when he was younger. Well, Rooney's still going now, so he can. Crouchy, yeah, I mean, you're right, that number 9, that big, powerful kind of centre forward, well, not big and powerful, but tall centre forward, is
he didn't bench it.
Yeah, it's kind of going out. But where I think Theo would be alright is because he's got that speed, man. Before the injury, he had that burst of speed, and you know what it's like. Speed kills, man. So if you don't care how good a defender you are, if somebody like I played against Ashley Cole that many times, and I played with a guy called Dennis Romadal, fastest guy I ever played with. Now Ashley Cole's arguably the best left back. Well, not even arguably, he's the best left back to ever play in this country. Whenever he used to play against Dennis Romadal, he just couldn't get to grips with it, because even if Dennis Romadal had a bad touch and it went over his head, he'd just go flying past him.
Yeah.
There's nothing you could do against pace.
What club did you play with Romadal with?
Charlton.
Man, of course. I was trying to wrack my brain and think that. Yeah.
And honestly, Ashley Cole, as I said, he played against Ronaldo. All these guys was brilliant. Came to Romadal, for whatever reason, all Dennis used to do was just face him up, push it, and just run. Because he was that good.
Man. All right, next number.
10.
10. Do you feel like you maximised your footballing potential?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I don't think I quite got the kind of credit or the opportunities that others got. I always felt like I had to go above and beyond to get, as I said, a crumb earlier. Like, I remember going, obviously, that 2006, I think it was, scoring 22 goals that season, didn't go to the World Cup. I think it was in 2010 with the World Cup of that year, scored 25, don't go to a World Cup. So I've got 13 caps for England, and I felt like to have scored as many goals as I have, and to only have 13 caps, it doesn't compute. Do you know what I mean? So I know that I tried to maximise it. I worked hard on the training pitch. I scored the amount of goals. Every time someone presented a challenge to me, I kind of overcame that challenge. I remember going to Spurs, having a tough time, and leaving there, and then people going, right, he'll vanish now, and then going and scoring 25 the next season, and then 20 the season after that. So I do feel like I maximised it, but I just felt like I never quite got the opportunities I deserved.
Yeah. And do you think, because I think for England, you were part of the golden generation of the golden midfield, and it was like the golden centre-backs. It was just a very tough squad, and I think a lot of people kept that team together based on just legacy and sort of a warm, fuzzy feeling around those players' names. But they weren't delivering, so there could have been space. Do you think that was a part of the problem, just the kind of golden generation tag?
Yeah, potentially, yeah. I definitely think until kind of Gareth Southgate's got in the team, got the squad, I definitely believe that players were kind of picked on reputation rather than actual performances on the pitch. Because I was always under the illusion from when I was a kid, the best players will play in the team. So if you're playing really well at the time, you'll get in the team. And then I know there was so many times where I was flying for my club side, scoring goals. I'd go to England, I'd be on the bench, don't come on. Just because obviously he'd rather, even though I'm there, a striker ready to come on in good form, he'd rather go and put on like a Joe Cole or someone like whoever wasn't playing at the time because, well, I can't leave Joe Cole on the bench. He might do something. So even if he has to completely change up the formation, he'll do that rather than gamble. We need a centre forward on. Darren, just go. And it's even when I played under Steve McLaren, who was a good manager. There's one particular game I will never forget is where we played against Croatia. Do you remember that? And we went out. We didn't qualify for the Euros.
Yeah, the Brolly match.
The Brolly one, right? Well, I never forget that. Like it was 2-2, and he wasn't going to put me on. And I could hear him talking to his number 2 about who to put on. And I can't remember who they were going to put on. It was a midfielder. Even though it was 2-2 and we needed a goal, he was going to put on a midfielder. So he told someone to get ready. And I was like, I'm obviously not playing. Went to take off my pads, and then Croatia scored the 3rd goal to make it 3-2. And he went, oh, no, I can't do that now. Right, Darren, get ready, you're going on. Do you know what I mean? So if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have come on.
Yeah. That's a bit crazy.
And that wasn't the only time. That happened loads of times.
Yeah. All right. Next question. I'm going to dig into that a bit later on, but I think there's another question that will help me. Go on. Next one.
Number 6.
Oh gosh. So Titus Bramble was your teammate at Ipswich in the early 2000s. He received a lot of stick from fans and pundits. First and foremost, do you still talk to him?
Not really. I've not spoken to him for a while. If I see him, I'll have a conversation with him.
Yeah. Did you feel like that stick was warranted, or was he just misunderstood? Because he was actually a bar line for jokes at one point, and I kind of like, I get the errors were quite high profile, but I don't know. You played with him, so was he better than we probably recognised at the time?
You know what? He was a very good defender, but you're right. I mean, what it was is when I first got the team with him, when we finished 5th in the Premier League, Ipswich Town. That was a season before I got into the team. He was brilliant. No errors, strong tackles, scored some crucial goals, got himself in the 21s, on the 21s, was playing really, really well. Then the next season, like, mistakes started to creep into his game a little bit. Because he played alongside Tony Mowbray, who kind of coached him through it. It helped him. Then he became kind of their more experienced one, or the centre half next to him, I can't remember who it was, didn't help him as much. So the errors started to kind of like creep into his game more and more and more. So by the time he eventually went to Newcastle, these errors were kind of like cemented into his game. He just took it on. So you'd see from Newcastle, some games he'd be the best player on the pitch for like 90 minutes. And then that one time you think he's going to make a mistake, he'd make the mistake. And that continued even when we went up to, I played with him at Sunderland. The same thing. And I think that's why the people got on his case so much. And then obviously people was always talking about him always out drinking, or, you know what I mean? It seemed to be the party boys. I think it was him, Kieran Dyer, and a few of them who got quite a lot of stick. And that shouldn't really come into it. But when you're making mistakes at the time, a high-profile club like Newcastle, who were finishing the Champions League and things like that, you're going to get the stick. But he was a good defender. But as I said, he just maybe went to Newcastle at the wrong time. If they'd have got him a year before that, when he wasn't making any mistakes, then we might have gone, you know what, wow. But because the mistakes kind of crept into his game, and as I said, for 90 minutes, 85 minutes, he'd be the best player. You couldn't get nothing out of him. And you know that one particular time, he might do something and give that opportunity. And it's just about whether you take it or not.
Yeah. Cool. I'm going to slightly reformat it. So we're now between 1 and 12 because 8 have already gone. What's your next number between 1 and 12?
12.
Did you get along with Alex McLeish? He made you captain at one point and then he replaced you with Ron Vlaar. Do you know what actually happened? Did you ever talk about it? He also made a quite off-the-cuff remark about one of the finishes you made or something after one of the games I read. What was your relationship like with him?
It weren't McLeish, that was Paul Lambert.
Really?
I got on really well with McLeish. Like, I played for McLeish. He didn't make me captain, but I played really well for McLeish. And then I got injured in the January and missed the rest of the season. Lambert came in and he made me captain, and then he took it off me. But no, we didn't get on at all. Didn't get on at all. Didn't like him. Still don't like him.
But what was the disconnect? Because obviously that happens. There's so many men in a club and in a team. So what actually was the disconnect? Is it just styles or culture?
No, do you know what it was? So first off, he got the job. Like, first of all, McLeish shouldn't have been sacked in the first place because he'd managed Birmingham. The Villa fans just couldn't take it. Yeah, you know what I mean. So he was unless we finished 5th, he was never ever going to get the time. So obviously I'm on holiday down at St Bart's, and it's announced that Lambert's got the job. So I'm on holiday with my wife. My phone just it rings. It's Lambert. How you doing, Darren? I'm the new manager. Wants to talk about the team and where I feel the team went wrong the season before, from the January to the end of the season, because I didn't play. So I spoke to him. So all the time he's calling me, probably about 4 or 5 days in a row, calling me, asking me about certain players, about the culture. So I'm in conversation with him. So I come back now. He makes me captain. But I think what his problem is that he'd managed clubs at like Norwich, Wickham, so he could kind of control it. So he took Norwich from League One, Premier League, so he kind of controlled the players from the ground upwards. When he came to Villa, like there's already internationals in the team. There's Ferraris, Bentleys, Range Rovers parked in the car park, and he couldn't get his head around it. He didn't like it. So obviously he looked at me and thought, well, he's a big character. Then the team starts off badly, and it just went from bad to worse. Like he signed Benteke, and he said, right, I'm going to play you and Benteke together. I thought, okay, that sounds good. Never really played us together, played us twice. And then to be fair, Benteke started flying, scoring goals. So I'm never been one where I'll say I should be playing if the guy who's playing in front of me is banging goals in, and Benteke was brilliant. But my beef with him is that how he tried to then disrespect me, disregard me, like leave me out of certain games, tell me things I'm going to be playing and I don't play. Just chat nonsense for the whole time. And then the following season, he told me at the end of that season, but Darren, I'm going to have to mix up the dressing room. So if you could maybe try and sort somewhere else to go and play football next season, that makes it easier. I was like, all right, fair enough. So, but I said, listen, I might not be able to straight away. Like, obviously, it's going to take time so I can weigh out my options, because I had like 5 or 6 options. I come back now, like my stuff, Delfonso, Alan Hutton, Stephen Ireland, and a couple of others, our stuff's in a change room, but not even like a change room that anyone else would probably use, like a youth team change room. It was like a spare change room that if they rented it out to like a Sunday League side for the day, all that stuff was in there. Balls were flat, weren't really cones. We didn't get a proper pre-season. So I go to Fulham for a season, come back now, and he's like, the owner must have said, well, listen, there's no money to buy any players, so you need to now integrate these players back into the squad.
Right.
So then they tried to be like, oh, we're going to need you back and all this nonsense. But by then the damage was already done. And as I said, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, I've spoke to people at Ipswich Town, obviously, because I started there, who I've known for years and years and years. Like, and these people wouldn't say a bad word about anyone. Real nice family club. And even some of the people I've spoke to at that club say they can't stand him because he's like he's got some kind of ego trip.
I think do you reckon it's harder being, because he was a top player, he played at Dortmund, he was a good player. Do you reckon it's harder coming from being a top player into a manager? We've seen the stories about Thierry Henry and Monaco and how difficult he found it. Not many, I can only think of Zidane right now, who have gone from being a top player into being a top manager.
Yeah, I mean Guardiola did it. He was a top player.
Yeah.
But obviously it helps when you have Messi, you know what I mean, buying it. So it helps.
A little bit.
And yeah, if you got Roy Keane as well, people would say he's the same top player. But the thing is, and that was another thing, is that he was a top player. Lambert won the Champions League with Dortmund, and maybe that was the case. But his resume up until that point hadn't shown us that he was any good in the Premier League. So he didn't warrant trying to throw his weight around. But obviously he brought Roy Keane in, and Roy Keane I really enjoyed working with Roy Keane. He was brilliant. But he kind of like, at times, Roy Keane was like kind of battling with some of the players, and he kind of just left him to it. Like he didn't want to get involved. And for me, I just think he's a complete one of the worst manager I probably have ever had. But I think he's at the wrong club as well, being Ipswich.
Man, all right. Between 1 and 11.
Let's go 11. I've had 11 yet.
Nah, well, this is a new 11 now because we've just deleted them. All right, so I asked Leroy Lita this question yesterday. I won't tell you what his answer was, but who is a better finisher between Carlton Cole, Leroy Lita, and Darren Bent?
Yeah. What did he say?
I'm not going to tell you yet. What do you think?
Oh, I'd say myself all day long.
Is that a universal, I'm a football player, I am the best answer, or is that a genuine?
That's a genuine. And even if you was to ask Colton, he'd tell you the same thing.
All right, cool. I'm going to try and start a war between all three of you and then get you all on the podcast to really debate it out. Because Leroy adamantly said himself, but he said it in such a way. He said, "Why are you laughing, Marvyn?" And I was like, okay.
Man, listen, League was a good finisher, but I was the best out of the three at the finishes, yeah. I mean, that's what I was renowned for, being a finisher.
All right, cool. I'm not going to do any more because I'm gonna return to that. I'm going to get you all one day on a call and do it. Between 1 and 10.
8.
How do you want people to remember you?
Good goal scorer, scored goals wherever he was. Worked hard for his team. Was a good teammate. But yeah, I like people to talk about what a good natural goal scorer he was. I think being renowned as a goal scorer, for people to go, like, I love people when they say to me, I could score some goals in. Like, I like when people talk about me like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, Darren Bent played for us. He scored some goals. Do you know what I mean? So just being renowned as a very, very good goal scorer.
What club do you have the most affinity to? Because you kind of played for a lot of clubs for like sort of a 2-3 year period. Which one do you have the most affinity to?
The biggest two were obviously Ipswich Town. That's the first one because I started there. I all started there, and then probably Charlton as well. Charlton, them two are above all of them because just the transition to the Premier League, but then just the guys, the clubs. Do you know what I mean? The supporters, the relationship I had with the supporters. Them two. I mean, listen, I had great times at Sunderland, but obviously I left it after a year and a half, and it ended quite badly. But I think for Charlton and Ipswich, they're the two that I put up above anyone.
Cool. Between 1 and 10.
Quick question though: didn't Leroy Lita played for Charlton? Didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Ask the Charlton fans; they'll tell you. There you go. Ask the Charlton fans.
I know. And the thing is, I love how it's like I can't just leave that there. That like Leroy, you got.
Ask Charlton fans; they'll tell you.
The thing is, I think you definitely scored more goals. I think for him, I remember there being a period when he was at Bristol, going into Reading, where the way he was spoken about, and you was like, there was a lot of like similarities in terms of just how people were spoken about. But to be fair, if you've done so many 20 goal seasons, we can't talk too much. Between 1 and 9 now. Sorry.
Let's go for number 3.
As an Arsenal fan, was it a challenge to play for Tottenham? First of all, I'm an Arsenal fan, so I'm, it's like disappointed that you did it anyway. But was it a challenge at all?
No, because that's probably one of the most questions I get asked, because being an Arsenal fan and Spurs. But no, when you talk about careers, like you're an Arsenal fan. If someone offered you the opportunity to go for Spurs TV, you're going to do it, aren't you?
I would say the thing is, I wouldn't do Spurs TV, but I did work at Manchester City.
You wouldn't do Spurs TV?
No, I wouldn't do Spurs TV. But I did work at Manchester City, and it was very, very challenging because a lot of actually Arsenal fans work there. But it's so different working for Man City because you realise what a club should be run like. They've obviously got real investment, real infrastructure. And I did start having an affinity to Man City, and it was kind of coinciding with the time that they were getting better. So it was quite a difficult, and Arsenal were terrible. But I don't know. I think playing is slightly different, but I wouldn't do certain things for Tottenham. They would have to really come and get me.
Yeah, but they came and got me. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it wasn't. And people always ask me, like, how can you be an Arsenal fan and play for Spurs? But when you talk about careers and stepping forward, I mean, listen, a lot of them Spurs players are Arsenal fans. Do you know what I mean? Like, loads of them. I mean, like Defoe's a big Spurs hero to a lot of them Spurs fans. He's an Arsenal fan. Do you know what I mean? So it's just one of them things. If you feel like it's going to better your career and it's the right stepping stone for you, you've got to take that chance.
Yeah. Did it ever come up? So I know. This is actually one of the questions, but West Ham came in for you just before. Was it ever a question of turning them down, or was it always just like they're the team for me?
Yeah, I went to West Ham. I flew back from Miami early from a holiday to go to West Ham. I went to the stadium, met the owner, met Alan Kirbishley. I was all set to sign, but the owner put me off, like the way his attitude and his whole attitude to the whole thing, and he was kind of pushy, and obviously I was tired enough. I just flew back from Miami, and I ended up saying, you know what, I can't really go to West Ham now over Spurs. So I knew Spurs were in for me anyway. Obviously, I went to West Ham first because of Alan Kirbishley. That's the only reason I went there first.
Right, of course, yeah.
Charlton, he signed me, and he was pushing it. So I was like, well, I know Alan Kirbishley better than anyone, so that's the place for me. But it was the owner that put me off.
Who was the owner at the time? Was that the Magnuson guy, or was that?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Cool. Between 1 and 7, because I think that was one of the questions, so we've taken another one out.
7.
Have you seen a Netflix documentary, The Last Dance?
Yes, I'm watching it now.
Amazing. Is there any comparisons between the changing room, the mentality of winning, between the NBA and the Premier League? What similarities do you see in the people, the changing rooms, the camaraderie, and the mental attitude?
It's all similar. You can see that obviously the camaraderie, the jokes in the change room, how little boys get together. But listen, when you talk about one of the greatest in Michael Jordan, the mentality, the born winner, do you know what I mean? The animal that he is. You don't really see that kind of that kind of mentality. You can get serial winners, but no one with that type of drive, like Michael Jordan. Obviously, why people spoke about him being the greatest athlete ever. But as I said, there are similarities. It's funny because when you watch it and you see him like joking around with some of the security guys or the kit guys, the exact same as football. When I was at clubs, I'd go and sit in with the kit man, joke with him for a little bit. I might go and sit in with the canteen lady, have a joke with her. So them type of situations are similar. But with it being 5-on-5 as opposed to 11v11, it's very rare that you get one person that can influence a team so much in a football match. And obviously there's great like Messi, Ronaldo, these guys can do it. But 5v5, it can come and turn into a little bit of a solo act. And obviously that is what Michael Jordan was. Do you know what I mean? In this last dance, like obviously I've always been a big fan of his, but I never knew the depth of this documentary. I mean, for me, it's one of the best. It's got the makers at the minute to be one of the best sporting documentaries ever.
To be honest, I'm glued, and I'm really annoyed that they're releasing it in twos because it's driving me mad. It's like, who do I write to, man? Like, I'm actually glued in, and then I got to stop and watch something less appeasing.
Do you know what it is as well? Why I find it so fascinating is because you don't really hear Michael Jordan talk at all nowadays. Like he's like a ghost. So to hear him open up so much, and what also as well is refreshing, is that if he's got something to say, he'll just say it. So even if he didn't like somebody, he won't hide it and go, well, he was a great player, and we maybe didn't get on to see eye to eye. I don't like him.
Yeah, the Isaiah Thomas comments were really direct.
I love it. Yeah, I don't like that. Why hide it?
Have you ever come across a football player with that type of mentality? Because, you know, there's one episode where they talk about him digging into the other players because I think Pippen was out and Rodman had to step up and he just started digging into all that. Have you ever had another player in your squad like that?
Yeah, we've had players before. We've had people like Robbie Keane when I was at Spurs. He used to dig into us if we didn't play well. Luke Young was the same at Charlton. If we weren't playing well, he'd dig into you. And to be fair, I had a couple of managers so we had Roy Keane as a coach at Villa. If we didn't play well, he would tear strips off people. And when I was at Burton at the very end, we had Cloughy was in charge.
Damn.
And he could tear strip. Honestly, he could have you in a meeting for an hour and spend half an hour on one person.
Damn.
You played well enough that you don't turn to you.
Yeah, I can imagine. And we got 1 to 7 now. Oh, 1 to 6, sorry.
6.
Was the Aston Villa team of 2011 with Kyle Walker, Downing, Young, Delph, Heskey, Petrov, Rio Coca, Perez, and Agbonlahor the best, most talented football team you played in?
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about Stuart Downing and Ashley Young, if you're centre forward, you couldn't wish for these two wide men either side of you because the cross was just coming in for fun. Like it was probably for that 3 or 4 months that I spent with them because obviously the team got I went there in January. End of that season, they got dismantled the whole team. Youngie went to United, Downing went to Liverpool. It was honestly that 4 months was probably the most simple I've had to do in my career. Get hold of the ball, lay it off, just get in the box. I wasn't asked to do anything else. Just get myself in the box. The balls will come in. Kyle Walker as well, bombing them from the right back. It was funny because that season, from January to the end of the season, I think I scored 10 goals or something. And at the end of that season, every one of my supply line who'd set me up that season had left.
Wow.
Downing, he'd set me up for a few, he'd gone. Ashley Young went. Luke Young, the left back, he left and went to West Ham or something, went somewhere. Kyle Walker left and went back to Spurs. And there's a couple of others that all gone. And it was honestly, I remember thinking, what am I going to do here? Do you know what I mean? But it was, as far as talent goes and creating opportunities for myself to score goals, it's never been so simple.
Yeah. There was I watched the old Arsenal clip the other day and there was this Newcastle team which had like Cisse, Kabai, Ben Arfa. I can't even remember all the players, but there was like ballers everywhere. Debussy was right back. How hard is it to go have a team like that and then try and rebuild it? So you obviously saw the attempt to rebuild Aston Villa. How far was it from being a good team once they tried to rebuild it?
Well, they were a good team, but my problem was the timing. I got there when they all wanted to get out. So obviously I understand it. Ashley Young wanted out because he wanted to go to Manchester United. I get that. Stuart Downing wanted to go to Liverpool. I get that. Do you know what I mean? It's going to make them better. Obviously, Nigel Reo-Coker was kind of in a funny place where he didn't quite know where he was going. He just didn't want to be at Villa anymore. So he was on his way out. Kyle Walker, I knew already, was going back to Spurs. So if I'd have got there maybe a year and a half before, I probably could have really enjoyed it. But I went there and I remember speaking to Gerard Houllier and he said to me, the players are not going. They're going to spend one more year here, so you'll be fine, and we'll get replacements in. And obviously, after 4 months, he himself left as well because he got ill. Left, them players left. It was just completely like, so it went from rebuilding, because they've been on the cusp a few times, fifth and all that. So it went from rebuilding to all of a sudden, what do we do now?
So I think, so when I asked the question earlier in terms of maximising, that's hugely unfortunate. That's nothing to do with you. You look at against Sunderland and you can see what happened to them after you left. So you didn't really miss anything. But there was just a lot of misfortune in terms of if you had been consistently playing at Tottenham, or if you'd been had a better squad at Sunderland, or if that squad stayed together at Villa, you could have been there 5, 6, 7, 8 years and really comfortably established yourself in the Premier League. And it probably would have changed your perception of how you were in the league. Yeah. Doesn't that somehow ring true in your head and make you think about it in a different way, or is it just how it went?
Yeah, particularly, obviously, you always think that it'd been nice. Obviously, the most I ever spent at one club was Ipswich Town, obviously. But you look at it and you think, right, if things have gone certain ways, or because I still spent a large time at Villa, but you think about when obviously Lambert came in, it was kind of just like one thing after another. So obviously the players leave. McLeish comes in, we get a good relationship, playing really well. I get the injury, he gets fired. Lambert comes in, doesn't go well, go elsewhere. It's just like, it seemed like from when I left Sunderland, it kind of was just like one thing after another, where I couldn't get any kind of consistency because something would change, whether the manager would change or players would go or something.
Cool. So we are on our last 5. Which one do you want to do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Go number 2.
Number 2, who do you need to forgive? That's a big question in any part of your life.
Who do I need to forgive? Who do I need to forgive? It's a good question, that. I'm trying to think who's annoyed me enough that I'd want to forgive them. To be fair, there's not that much to forgive him, but what I'm thinking about, because obviously Lambert, me and him will never see eye to eye. Paul Clement will never see eye to eye. But probably Harry Redknapp.
Interesting.
We had little not argument, but obviously he said something when I missed the chance. But since then, we've kind of just like, it's been all right. Like obviously, I was at Derby. He came to Derby as like an advisor, and ever since then, it's been all right. To be fair, there's been no real issue. So if I had to forgive anyone, it'd be him. But I forgave him years ago.
Yeah.
I'm sure he knows that. I spoke about it on radio and things like that. But that was one situation that got completely out of hand, where people just kind of just tried to keep snowballing it, so it kept going and going and going.
Yeah. It did feel particularly bizarre because I think the comment was a bit off the cuff, but also I think maybe at the time it wasn't playing very well, or something wasn't quite going right, and maybe the pressure then just tries to create stories out of it. It's quite interesting how careers can be perceived by moments, and then that becomes, as you said earlier about Andy Cole. He needs a few chances. That becomes his narrative, and then you got Harry Redknapp saying that, and you're like, well, what does that mean, Harry? Because what are we, That's a bit of a strange thing.
You know what? It was crazy about that, because that second season for Spurs, I still scored 17 goals. So, and when Harry came in, I think I had 7 in my first 7 games under him. So it was like, it kind of, and listen, I knew that obviously he wanted to bring Defoe back from Portsmouth. I understand that. He wanted to get Crouchy in. He needed to get people out. But at the time, it just didn't feel like it was warranted. Do you know what I mean? Because I know I should have scored the chance. I know it was a bad miss. But I've been scoring goals up until that. And even the week after that, we played Bolton away, lost 3-2, and I scored both goals.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like I hadn't scored a goal all season.
Yeah.
That chance I missed, but you're right in what you're saying. Once some certain managers or certain people will say something, it's like it sticks.
Yeah. Right, we're on the home stretch of the last 4. Which one's next?
4.
Can you create, this is going to be a bit difficult, you might need some time, so we might have to come back to it, so feel free to let me know. Can you create the greatest black all Premier League 11? That's a challenge.
Right. Goalkeeper, David James.
Yeah.
Right back.
Shaka Hislop was not happy.
Right back, Trent Arnold.
Yeah. I really rate him.
Me too. Left back, Ashley Cole, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Rio.
Yeah.
Now, this is a toughie, because I want to put Ledley in there, but you've got Van Dijk's there, Company's there as well.
And so Campbell, but clearly, you're not a true Arsenal fan. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
I'm going to go Rio, and I've got to go Vincent Kompany,
Yeah. He won too much. He's probably been my favourite player that isn't an Arsenal player.
Yeah.
Just as like I want him in my team at any time.
Right, I'm going to go 4-3-3.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to go 4-2-3-1. Kind of. No, I'm not. I'm going 4-4-2. I'm going 4-4-2.
Yeah.
Right, middle of the park, I'm going Patrick Vieira.
Yeah.
And I want to say like Makaleli or Kante, you know.
I would.
But then I like Essien as well.
I liked Essien, but he just didn't last long enough. After that injury, he just disappeared from football. He's still playing, but he just never got to the levels again.
Oh, I'm gonna go Vieira. I'll come back to the other sentence. right wing, I'm gonna say Liverpool. I'm gonna go Raheem.
Yeah.
Yeah, Raheem right. Left, I'm gonna go lefty. Black lefty. He played for Arsenal, United.
It's basically, I think I've only got Ashley Young in my head, and I feel like there's more.
Oh, do you know what? Sadio Mane.
Oh man, yes.
Got to be in there.
Yes. You almost make me want to change the formation for you because I just want to like, yeah. Mane.
My two centre forwards are Thierry and Didier Drogba. They're the two.
You gotta have Kante then, because you need mass, because you need someone to help this team, because that team looks basically 4-2-4. It looks like to me.
I'm gonna put Makaleli in there because that was his role.
Yeah. He invented it.
Yeah, so I'm going Makaleli and Vieira.
That's actually a sick team. I think that could take on any Premier League team. I think that is the league.
Oh my God, the front two, wow.
Could you imagine though? You can go long. You can just give it to Henry and let him do it. But then you've got Mane and so. This is the kind of thing I want to put in Football Manager somehow, or like on FIFA, and just watch.
Yeah,
you got to do it. That's an episode in itself. Cool. Next one. So we've got 3 left now.
Number 3.
Is there something out there, a thought, an idea, a current event, or a fear that you have that you find deeply unsettling?
No, I'm right. I'm quite a positive thinker. But as I said, I think I kind of answered earlier about the state that the country's going to be in, like for my kids and for the next generation. Do you know what I mean? Because for my boy, I've got a set of twins who are 2 nearly, and I've got a boy who's 6. So if you talk about the boy 6, because he's only 6 years old, speak of the devil, 1 second, yes.
How you doing, mate?
Good.
Look at him.
Say hi.
How are you doing? How are you enjoying the time off?
Look at this disgusting shirt he's wearing.
How did that happen?
My dad.
Only grandparents get away with that.
Yeah.
Are you actually a Chelsea fan, by the way?
Dad granddad down.
I made the order. Anyway, let Daddy finish. I'll be out in a bit, all right?
Bye.
You've got to do something about that. Chelsea.
Honestly, but you know what he did? Because he knows I'm an Arsenal fan and my dad's Chelsea, he'll wear like Arsenal shorts and Chelsea top or Arsenal shirt and Chelsea shorts.
Just dividing him so early.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
But that's the thing, because my 6-year-old as well, when you think about it, he right now for him, he thinks, oh, this must be the norm, but it's not. Do you know what I mean? So it's just the kind of state of the country that the next generation are gonna come into, basically.
Yeah. The last 2 are very introspective. So 1 or 2. 2. When was the last time you cried in front of another person or by yourself?
Probably when my twins were born. Yeah, when my kids were born.
Can you speak to that as a father? Obviously, we're a fathering. We have a fathering platform, but just what is that moment? Because a lot of mothers were asking me, why do dads take so long to connect or get involved? But it's really hard because there's moments. The moment you find out, the actual moment of birth, and then somewhere down the line, it really hits you that this is what you're meant to be doing. Is that the same for you?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I mean, obviously, when they pass you the baby first, because they obviously give you the baby first, and it's just that the whole connection. That's that part of you. You know what I mean? That you instantly feel like I can't let nothing happen to this baby. Do you know what I mean? Like for my firstborn, Milan, was crazy because I pretty much did everything I was supposed to do up until the point I was that excited about. I couldn't wait for him to be born and things like that. And you feel this kind of protecting over them, like you don't want nothing to happen to him. And even when he's now, I find myself like if he's running around, he hurts himself, like angry, like what's happened to him? Do you know what I mean? But it's just honestly, it's a feeling that it's hard to describe that you've been waiting for however long, 9 months for the baby to come, and then he's there in your arms, and you just think, well, I'm not going to let anything happen to this. Like it's part of me now. Do you know what I mean? It's just I don't think anyone's been able to describe that feeling in depth without. I think it's like you can only feel. You can't really describe it.
Yeah. So you were raised in a Jamaican household. What was the sentiment? How did your dad raise you compared to how you raise your children now? Is it similarities? Is it very different?
I try to raise them kind of similar. Like my dad, even though my mum and dad split up, my dad was still very much there. Still came up and see me every week. Still took me to football, so he was still very much involved. So I've kind of taken that from when Manlan's got anything, something at school or funk or anything. I make sure I'm there supporting him. Do you know what I mean? I'm there first and foremost. But it's hard because I try and raise them kind of the same way I was raised. But obviously the one difference is money. Unfortunately, obviously my mum and dad raising me, that they done what they needed to do to get by. Obviously I'm in a fortunate enough position now where I worked hard, played football, but my kids are okay. Do you know what I mean? So but as far as principles and things go, I try and install them into them. That just because obviously you've got a little bit more money doesn't mean anything. If you make a mess, you still clean it up. If you've got you put them away, you don't just leave things lying around. So the principle, you've got to be polite to people, make sure, please, thank you. These things that don't cost anything, but they're just manners at the end of the day. And that's what my parents always installed into me.
Yeah. Would you say that there is a lack of understanding of footballers, how much they earn, where the money comes from, where the money goes? Because you made a really poignant point, which actually really opened my eyes. I think I retweeted it a couple of weeks ago on TalkSport about you can't just ask footballers to take a deferment or to take a cut or donate because you don't know where they are financially. They may have had a 5-year plan to pay off their mortgage before they retire. And if they can't, if you're now doing this, and they might be responsible for wider family members. Do people just have a misconception? Where do you think that misconception around footballers and money comes from?
I just think it's because people see, I mean, when I speak to some people before, and even people that crack jokes, they're always like, what people don't like is that the fact that, yeah, they love football, but they don't like footballers getting so much money because in their eyes, they don't do anything. The joke that people always say is, they only kick a ball around. Why are they getting paid all that amount of money? Just kick a ball around. But you're right. So people automatically think, well, you get that much money, you've got to be fine. Like it's your God-given right that you have to be fine. And it doesn't always work out that way. You're right, because people have got. Like I've played with some guys who send money abroad, or they're trying to set up charitable schemes or whatever with their money, and that's down to them. Now, I think when people try to attack footballers, I think it's because they see them as easy targets because their wages and their salaries always out there. They're like, well, go to them first. We know they've got it. But it's not always that simple. And I think that's where the moment something goes wrong with a footballer, they're not playing well, or there's an incident that happens, the first thing people reach for is money. They go, so that much money should be playing better. Well, hold on a second here. Like for one instance, is Jesse Lingard. Like we know he earns a lot of money, and people have absolutely crucified him for the last couple of years about his performances. But people didn't know that he had stuff going on behind the scenes. Yeah. I don't care how much money you're earning. If you've got private matters going on in your household, ain't no amount of money going to, mentally get you through the period that you're trying to deal with your mother, your kids, or something like that. Doesn't matter how much money you've got, it's still going to be difficult times for you. It still might take your attention or your full focus away from the job in hand, which is playing football. When it comes to people's lives and livelihoods, football takes a back step.
Yeah. Is there something that you could or would choose to say on behalf of Carl Walker at this time? We know he's under a lot of scrutiny. You obviously played with him. I don't know if you still keep in contact, but is there a perspective, without going to specifics, that you feel like that is worth sharing on his behalf?
Do you know what? It's a tough one in that situation because he didn't help himself with the whole sex party thing. That there just kind of killed it for him. So whatever happened after that, people are going to go back to that first one. Now, I get it. He said about, obviously, that someone was, I think it was his sister, he drove to his sister's house because he's the closest to her. And that I think she's someone that he can't live without and that he needs to speak to her, give her a hug because he's obviously close with her. I'm the same like that with my mum. I know people that are the same with their mums or their grandparents or their sisters, and they haven't broke protocol. Now, the only time that obviously he's opened himself up is that he's kind of insinuating like his situation is more important than other people's. And I think that's where people are getting angry with, well, hold a second here. I know that this person is important to you, but there's also people that are important to me that I've not seen for 2 months. So what gives you the right to do it? Because you're famous, you play football, you earn money. And that's where the argument will generate from.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, last question. So you went to school in Cambridgeshire, is that correct?
Yeah, before that I was in Tooting in South London.
Yeah. How did that impact you growing up versus some of the friends or people that you knew who stayed in Tooting?
You know what? It was because I was supposed to go to, because I lived in Tooting, I lived in Croydon. So I was supposed to go to Lamfranc School, which is about a rough school. And if anything, I'll always say that it was kind of a blessing, me moving to Cambridge, because obviously London's hard streets. South London at the time, Croydon's rough area. You know what I mean? I've seen things as a kid that I should never see. But when I moved up there, it was like, whoa, what is going on here? Like open green grass everywhere. Like play football, could really enjoy it. Could walk to school if I wanted to. Do you know what I mean? I could do all these things. And I think it kind of just helped me grow because I knew what I was coming from to what I had then. So even in regards to like when I got in from school, going out to the local park, playing football, nice green at the back of the, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it was a real eye opener. So I just think, and to be fair, which is crazy, is that when I moved to Cambridgeshire, like I was the only black person in the area. I think there was 2 black kids in my whole school. One was in sixth form and I was in year 7. And not once in school did I receive any racism. And which is crazy because I thought, well, a place that's predominantly white, I didn't get not one person saying, they kind of embraced me. And it so happens that my best friend, he's black. He went to another school. He moved to the area from London as well, about 6 months later, but he come from East London. But we never ever received anything. People just kind of embraced us and just looked at us like, as we are human beings. And I always said to people growing up in that area, that's one thing that really shocked me, but it was like, I'll always go back there, always show love to the area. I mean, my mum still lives there, is that I expected to get so much. I probably got more racism in London, which is like, do you know what I mean, than I did when I went up there.
Yeah. So what was the catalyst to moving up there? Was it your mum moving there for a particular person? Or was it just like, we want you in a better environment, so we're going to move you?
No, it was my mum and dad split up when I was 11. So when they split up, my dad obviously he still lives in South London. He'll never leave South London. So he stayed down there, and it was just the better idea for me to go with my mum for that reason. Obviously, going to Lamfranc School, they didn't want me to go there in the first place, but then to go to a school that was all open air, it was just a real nicer environment. And I think as well, my parents wouldn't have had to worry because you know it's like with London. If I walk to school, I never know what could happen. A God-given day, something can happen in London, and you never know. But up there, it just kind of helped them calm and go, well, we know he's in a safe environment. And as I said, it just kind of was a real eye opener, and it would just really help with my development.
Yeah, big. Darren, thank you so much. That's been absolutely amazing, man. I think for me, I feel like watching your career, because we're kind of the similar ages. So as I loved football, you were playing. So I was almost able to watch you in real time as a man playing. So always a joy to watch. Apart from playing for Tottenham, which I think is a real scourge on everything you've done. It's really hard to go back and watch. Like you scored goals there, celebrating. It's a tough one. But apart from that, amazing career, man. And thank you so much for joining today. I'm an Arsenal fan. I'm a warm-hearted, loving person. Hence why. I just wouldn't go work there, but that's where we're different. Okay, they wouldn't pay me the amount they paid you to go there either. So, all fair. Thank you so much. This has been Marvyn Harrison. This has been Darren Bent. And this is 20 Questions.